Hello, Chap here. Welcome to the workshop. Now, I've got a real treat for you today because I can show you a Baker rifle fitted with an actual Ridley Mark 1 star scope and scope mount. Now, this is not quite as rare as the Mark 1, which is rumoured to only have ever been field tested at Waterloo itself. Now, of course, I am referring to that scene in Ridley Scott's Napoleon, which I freely admit I have not yet seen. I'm waiting for it to come out on streaming platforms, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever, so I can sit comfortably at home and pepper the screen with popcorn and shout at it loudly. Anyway, quite a few of you, thank you audience, have made me aware as soon as the film came out of this particular scene. And you can see a rifleman, green jacket, presumably from the 95th, who, as an uncouth savage that he is, dares to take a pot shot. He snipes at Napoleon with no less than a scoped Baker rifle. So, slow clap, scriptwriters. This daft inclusion alone kind of reduces the whole thing to a fanfic. Now, that being said, if you take the time to listen to the excellent podcasts on Napoleon by Fighting on Film, so there they interview the special effects, the armourers, various members of the film crew, you get the impression that Mr. Scott actually did it just as a massive troll to the history buffs. For maybe he knew that how accurate he was trying to be, it would never please the reenactors, the historians. So, you know what? Up yours, all of you. Have a look at this. If that was the case, my hat's off to you. Anyway, let's see what we can deduce from the film. Firstly, the scope is obviously just spyglass, so it's to be used with little or no eye relief. So really close, and you can see in the film he's kind of here, which means you can see absolutely nothing. You've got like a 5mm diameter window to look through, and because it's a spyglass, it also has no reticle or crosshairs or anything else to localize yourself in the field of view. It's just a magnifier. Now, that said, by 1815, surprisingly, the idea of putting a telescope on a flintlock rifle was also almost 40 years old. We have to go back to 1775 to the US, where Charles Wilson Peale, apparently a renowned portrait painter at the time, and David Rittenhouse, an astronomer, both members of the Distinguished American Philosophical Society, so they were both scientists in the day, and these two started experimenting together with a scoped rifle. Now, astronomers had in fact been adding reticles to their telescopes for quite a while. This was a handy way to track celestial bodies if you've got a frame of reference. And the trick was to find a filament that was thin enough because it has to be put on the eyepiece. And the common material by then was silkworm cocoon silk. But it's David Rittenhouse himself who made the next step to using spiderweb, particularly from orb spiders, which was thinner than silk, and also stronger. And we're lucky that there is the Journal of the American Revolution, which I have put a link to in a description, which has excerpts from Peale's diary at the time. So by the 12th of January 1776, the rifle appears to be complete, with the telescope, as they call it, mounted on the rifle. Unfortunately, there's no information on what kind of mount it was using. The rifle has been lost to history, but it must have been adjustable somehow. It certainly wasn't strapped on with a scarf. And there's an entry between the 5th and the 8th of February where Peale is trying to sight in the rifle. So it takes 4 days to scope it, to sight in the scope. And on the 9th of February, there is a milestone in scope history because the entry reads, "Making peace with springs to prevent eye being hurt by kicking of the gun." Yes, ladies and gentlemen, getting scope bite is just as old as scopes themselves. Anyway, by the 19th of February, he is quoted as saying that he can easily hit a small piece of paper at 100 yards. Now, we don't know what a small piece of paper is, but it's obviously not target size, so something smaller. And repeatedly hitting with a flintlock, presumably a rifle, would be quite an achievement to be able to repeat it constantly. Anyway, let's go back to the issue. The way that it's mounted is the next thing. In the film, it just seems to be wrapped with a piece of cloth, so good luck this sticking together. having two cylinders wrapped together, there's no way this is going to hold zero, and yeah, that's going to go all over the place. And also you've got to lugging it around the field, and also it's going to be jiggled around as it's reloaded. So hastily strapping it in the field is absolutely no solution whatsoever to keep zero. And this leads me to the third point, which is that there is no way that Muggins is going to be allowed to modify his rifle either temporarily or permanently. It's going to be completely against regulations, and he'll probably suffer a significant fine, probably a righteous good flogging if he does anything of the sort. However, taking all this into account, let us suspend our disbelief just for a moment. The fact that the rifleman has the rifle pre-prepared, it just appears on screen. You don't see him quickly putting the whole thing together. It's just there. So this allows us a certain freedom to assume that he did in fact prepare the rifle beforehand with some kind of temporary mount, something that could be usable and also could be whipped off without incurring the wrath of the sergeant come inspection time. So on this basis, let us just imagine.
There's a certain rifleman Muggins to see you, Your Grace.
Indeed. No doubt some tiresome petition or other. Send him in.
Good evening, sir. Your Grace. Thanks for agreeing to see me, Your Grace.
Yes. Be quick about it.
Well, it's like this, Your Grace. I got an idea that might help against the frogs. You see, I was having a chinwag with my mate Plunkett, me having won this here spyglass off him in a bet. Anyways, he's always retelling his yarn about how he slotted General Colbert back in '09. Now, I must admit I'm not as good a shot as old Plunkett, but it got me thinking, what if I was to clamp this here glass onto me rifle, and then I could have a crack at some frog officers, maybe even Boney himself. Anyway, I've whittled down this here block of wood to steady the glass, and my old man, he works in the knackers yard, see, so I knows how to melt an horse and make good glue. And then I could paste the block to the scope and...
Dear God, man, you're rambling. Now, listen here. The shooting of General Colbert was, of course, an exceptional shot, but those were also dire circumstances, and it really isn't the done thing, I dare say, to snipe at enemy general officers. Who's going to be around to organise the next bout? No. We have to keep war civilised, I'm afraid. Now, as much as I commend your zeal and ingenuity, I simply can't allow it. You're dismissed. Did you hear that, Uxbridge? Honestly, it's on a dash of honour among the ranks. Lord preserve us from commoners ever reaching positions of power, I tell you. So along those lines, this is what I came up with to make a scope at least vaguely functional within the means of a poor rifleman and what he could possibly get away with. So the wooden block has a top and bottom groove, which I did on the mill, so hopefully they should be parallel. And that's, of course, to seat the scope on the barrel. And I also need some way of vaguely indexing it to the centre of the bore, and I did that by using the rear sight as a reference. So there's a small cutout here at the front, and this leather strap here fits over the raised leaf, and hopefully will also mitigate any effects of recoil. I don't want the scope to shoot back completely off the mount. And in terms of the scope, I have this Chinesium 25 power telescope, which of course has no reticle, and we need one in order to make a credible attempt at having an aiming point. And also it needs to be within the realm of the possibility for our poor rifleman Muggins. So to do that, I simply glued two hairs from from Lady the Chap's hairbrush at approximately 90 degrees to each other, and it actually works surprisingly well. Now, for gluing everything together, I'm going to be using some strong double-sided sticky tape, because I will flog anyone who messes with the finish of my barrel. And of course, for film authenticity, I'll be wrapping the whole assembly with some strips of black cloth. 95 grains, service charge. Wanderlube patch, .60 lead ball.
got him in my sights, sir. Escaped. So that was aiming there. Let's try and center it, assuming this is keeping 0, which it definitely isn't. We'll keep going until we get him. So far, it is not going well. Kneeling, it was okay. Standing, it's going all over the place. So being honest with you, this is, looks good on screen, but even my Ridley Mark 1 star is not performing. Focus again, there we go. This is another good feature. Let's see, did we get him? Oh! Flew past his ear. There you can see the spread of the shots all over the place. And I got more. I've got 7 more shots. We'll see. I'll get back to you when I hit him. All right, we've done it. Right in the face. Now it has taken me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think there's another 1 off. Well, actually I can count. There was a couple of practice shots. So I think it's 7. I think 8 rounds to put 1 on. I could
better with the irons.
The irons, I know, shoot to sights, and there's the famous Corona shot of about 300 yards in Spain, which is a confirmed hit with irons. So yeah, I know it was for the meme in the film, but it was fun testing it out.
Or there's the simple solution.
Yes, there is such a thing as class, you know.
I don't have any. No worries there.
So that went actually a little better than I thought it would, because the first shot was already somewhere on the target, which meant I could kind of take several shots and work out at least a vague point of aim. Now the irons are point of aim, point of impact, and all my shots were going low on that basis, and that makes sense because the scope is a raised scope mount, very fashionable these days, and it's parallel to the top of the barrel, not parallel to the bore axis because the barrel is slightly conical. But I milled the block so the surfaces should be parallel, so this of course moves my point of aim up compared to the barrel, so I had to aim higher. So that was consistent. But in terms of sort of aiming, windage and elevation, there's absolutely no way this thing was holding 0. Because even if the main body is clamped, the bit with the reticle is back here and it's on the end of this wobbly thing. So you can see in the film they kind of address it by having a second scarf cloth to try and clamp it down, but this is still going to wobble even if you tie it down. You can't tie it down too much because it's just going to bend. So yeah, this was there was absolutely no chance of getting a repeat 0, and this is why I stopped after getting 1 hit on Boney, because the next shot would have been going elsewhere. So I think that Boney would have been quite safe, even if Muggins had had a chance to zero in his rifle. If he finally got 1 good shot off, there's no guarantee that his next shot would have hit in the same place. What I will say is that the eyepiece, so the lady, the chap's hair crisscrossed on the eyepiece and glued in place, that worked really, really well, and that survived without any problem, despite slamming my glasses repeatedly. And certainly at 50 meters, it's thin enough that it doesn't obscure the target. So in theory, that bit would have worked, but still the whole system is ludicrous. Anyway, I hope you found this slightly entertaining. It was certainly good fun to try it out, even though it was doomed to failure. But that's what we're here for. We like tackling these myths, whether they're believable or utterly ridiculous. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for your support, whatever platform you're following us on. Don't forget that we're also on the Weapons of War app. And shall hopefully see you very soon back here or out on the range as springtime is approaching. Bye.